Hello everyone, I'm Silverraptor and welcome to a Wargame with Dragon deck discussion video. So, as a number of you probably are aware, the Netherlands DLC for Wargame was just released, and Vulcan, Bubblebox, and Valh and I decided to go over the new deck and units and possible updates. So please sit back and enjoy as we discuss the new nation.
Okay, so logistics-wise, we've got the ubiquitous Land Rover for the Blue 4 side, and then there's a little armoured car for 124 points, which offers you a little bit of armour and is pretty speedy along the ground as well. And then we've got the Command Infantry in various trucks, ranging from the DAF with no weapons at all, up through machine gun weapons, and an autocannon. I believe that's an autocannon or a small cannon on the YPR 76S25 at the end. Now, the one I tend to take is the one in the heli, just so that I can get around the map a little bit at the start of the game if necessary, especially in a 10v10, which I personally play quite a lot, even though you guys don't. So I'd get probably the infantry squad in the UH-14. However, it is still quite speedy at 300 kilometers, so it should get to any area in an equivalent time as the Red 4 choppers. There is a command chopper on its own, UH-14CO. I tend not to use those. They're very exposed, of course, as we've probably mentioned in 100 videos before, although and it just gives you like a 25 points off from having an infantry one, which you can hide in bushes and buildings, of course. Then we've got a couple of, we've got another armoured car, the YPR 76S Proco C, whatever that is. A little bit more armour than the first one and fairly nippy across the ground, but that one is amphibious, whereby the one at the top is not amphibious. So if you want an amphibious CV, that might be the way to go. And then we've got the Leopard 1 NLCO, decentish armour for 145 points. If you want something perhaps in a conquest game which can take a little bit of punishment from artillery, for example. Chopper-wise, logistics-wise, we've got not a great selection. If we have a look at the truck first, we've got the DAF there. It's got 800 litres of supply, not massive, but it's the only truck there is. So if you want a wheeled vehicle to supply logistics, that's the way to go. Then there's two choppers. For me, the 25-point chopper is just too small, 1,000 litres. I prefer something a bit more chunky. Even the 35-pointer isn't that chunky at 1,500 litres of supply, but I'd definitely go for that and the truck if I wanted a truck as well. And of course, I would also take the ubiquitous fob for 75 points, and that's my logistics. What do you reckon, guys?
I mean, there's actually, did you guys know that 25-point helicopter? I'm not sure if they fixed it. It actually works as a CV at the moment.
It does now. Did that happen again? I think like in the beta, the Mi-6 helicopter that the Soviets used also acted as a CV.
It might have done, but I mean it's pretty standard command tab really. There's I think I agree with you though, Bubble. The helis are a bit meh. They're a bit too small for me.
Yeah, they're small and squishy.
The amphibious CV, in my opinion, is much better than the wheeled CV, just because it's only 10 kilometers per hour slower over like land, and when it comes to road speed for a CV, it doesn't particularly matter because you don't want your CV getting ahead of your convoy anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I also want to say, Bubble, that you actually missed a unit. The AMX PRVR is actually a supply truck, 10 points, 500 liters, but it's amphibious, so that's pretty useful to cross rivers and supply troops.
Can be, yeah. Sure.
Yeah, very small on supply though, so I'm not sure I'd personally use that.
You'd have to bring them in lots of 4 or something.
yeah, you'd have to bring them in 4 every time.
It's just that their power is that they're amphibious, and just be able to move the supplies around like that, I feel, is pretty powerful, especially for such a cheap unit. But yeah, you do have to bring in quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad at all.
Okay, so move on to infantry.
Yeah, let's move on to the infantry. Vulcan, go for it.
Okay, so starting off, we got the genies with their napalm. Pretty short napalm range and not great. I mean, they're regular infantry, your standard sort of napalm infantry with a pretty terrible Uzi. Then we got the grenadiers. They have the Valh and FN Mag, which are pretty good defensive troops, I guess, for 10 points. They do have that pretty decent accuracy, and nice rate of fire on the machine gun, although terrible on their assault rifle. Then we have the backbone of a Dutch deck, which is the Corps Marinair. We do have two versions. We've got the non-95 and the 95 versions. The non-95 version has the 80% accurate and 60% accurate assault rifle and machine gun. But the trouble is with those, they're very much static troops, and they do lack the rate of fire that the 95 have. So the carbine, the C7 carbine on the Corps Mariner 95 have 533 rounds per minute, which is insane. And the Mini-Me, of course, is a very good machine gun with 413 rounds per minute. Also strength of 15 and elite training. So very, very good squad. I would say the only thing that really lets them down is their AT4, although the rate of fire on the AT4 is pretty good against APCs and small targets. Then we got the Natras, which is like the reserve infantry. They're not great. I mean, they have a foul with 30% accuracy, so maybe okay for spamming into towns, but not something that you would probably pick over other Dutch units, honestly, because in my opinion, you'd probably take lots of Corps Mariner and probably the Stoottroepen, which we'll get to in a sec. But next up, we have our standard Stinger squads. They have 5 HE power, pretty short range though, at 2,275 meters on that Stinger, 50% accurate, pretty standard Stinger squad there. Then we got the Stoottroepen with the 60% accurate FAL and the 50% accurate FN mag. So another standard infantry squad, shock training with 10 strength. Pretty nice to fill out your ranks, but you're probably not going to choose those if you take the Stoottroepen 95 with the Mini-Me machine gun again. Much better than the FN mag, in my opinion, because of the better stabilizer, and also the assault rifle is probably more useful, the C7 there. So the Stoottroepen 95 with the Corps Mariner 95 is your staple infantry, in my opinion, for the Dutch decks. Maybe you'll take a Stinger squad to come with, but that's about it. Then we have the Verplug, which is the FN FAL and a Dragon missile system. It's a pretty weak HGM unit. But yeah, what do you guys think? We should probably look at the APCs quickly. We do get a pretty nice range of APCs. We do get the YP48PWI, which is the fastest APC that they can get, I believe. And then we have the tracked ones, which is the AMX PRI, and then the YPR765, which come with a few variants, one with an autocannon, one with a machine gun, and also, of course, the AB 240B or 204B, which is your standard sort of Huey helicopter. But yeah, what do you guys think?
I think you're selling those Verpleg a bit short, because the 95 version I think is actually really nice. You can take them in that 5-point transport, and they have 2 HE power.
Yeah.
So they work the same way an RX works, just at a longer range actually.
Yeah,
really
that's
nice,
what I was thinking.
Support unit. But yeah, I mean, I think they have a really good tab actually. I really like the Dutch infantry.
Yeah, I'll go for the Mariniers, Stormtroopers. I'll get the way we pronounce that, and definitely take some Stingers as well, even though they're not the best man pads. They're the only ones the Dutch have got, so I'd definitely take them as well.
Yeah, I hadn't really noticed those Verplug 95 before. The fact that those had HE, that's a very good point actually. That makes them very valuable.
They are fire support, so all fire support have a little bit of HE on their guns for be able to shoot at infantry.
They do.
They're kind of like the light rifleman 90s that the US have, except the Super Dragon can now hit infantry, which is the big important thing. So yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool squad. Should we move on to support?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, so I guess I'll cover that. So first off, we've got our long-range tube RT. We've got the 50-point AMX 105 Mark 61, which is honestly not that great. I think in general all of the artillery pieces of this kind of point range just don't seem to really be that impressive. Then you've got the NATO ubiquitous 80-point M109A3, which is a little better, but I mean I think it still suffers from the same problems. Its dispersion's kind of bad and the range isn't amazing either. Then you've got their best one by far, which is the M109A5NL, which has a better rate of fire than the previous one and much better range and dispersion. And then these are probably two of the most important ones, which are they're basically flak panzers. You've got the Cheetah PRTL and the Cheetah PRTL A1. The difference between them is the A1 has 20% more accuracy. Really, I think it's personal preference which one you bring. I've been bringing the A1 variant. It's, again, it's just a Gepard A1, but I think they both have a place really. You've got these really cool, the little Laro Mortiers, which are some small mortar trucks, which I think are really, really fun. They don't do much damage, but they're really, really nice to just lay down some smoke and get around the battlefield really fast. You've got the YP408 PWMT, which is again another fast mortar with a bit more punch to it, although less rate of fire. And the M106A1, which is a heavier tube mortar with much better range and more HE. Then you have the two variants of large 9 and 10 HE damage weapons. You've got the M107 and the M110A2. Honestly, I don't really use both of these. I can imagine that the M107 might be pretty interesting to use if you had a few of them, because you could really put some hurt on one specific target with that 9 HE. And again, the same with the M110A2, just has better dispersion, although less range, ironically, than the M107. Then we've got the Hawk series. You've got the base Hawk, the iHawk, with a pretty good missile, although the accuracy isn't amazing. It is radar guided. Very slow though, unfortunately, 25 kilometers an hour and with low autonomy. The Pip 1 just increases the range against helicopters to 3,325, which makes it very valuable as a long-range anti-heli piece for your forces. And then you have the same as the Eotus Hawk from, I believe it is Denmark, I think. You have the Eotus Hawk. And its range against helicopters isn't amazing, and it's basically a clone of the iHawk, except it's not SEED, it's an infrared anti-air piece. That being said, it does look amazing, but I've always found that every time I use them, I just end up disappointed, because 50% accuracy, even at hardened, I don't know, it just doesn't seem to hit too often. But again, it's not a bad AA piece, and you definitely want to be bringing it, I think. And then you come to this thing, the Lance, the most beautiful unit in Wargame. It's not that amazing. Some people have been saying it's God's gift to artillery. I don't really think so, but it does serve a really good role. I think the way I've been using it is a bit like a NATO Buratino. So if I'm going to attack a town, what I'd do is buy one or maybe two of them, and then fire those rockets at the edge of the town. Because the suppression is massive, so you'll stun and panic all the units inside those town blocks. And obviously it can also be used as a sniping unit against CVs, but not too amazing. So what are your thoughts, guys?
Yeah, the Lance, quick one on the Lance is the only problem with it is its kind of wind-up time. It's got quite a long aim time, and if anything moves, you've lost your whole rocket. But as you say, it's probably better to, as preparation to go into towns or for a target that you know is going to be static for a fair amount of time.
I just want to ask, for the HE power is 20. What's the HE power on the B5 as a comparison? Do you guys know?
Camera is 20 or 30. Give me a second, let me check.
All right. While you do that, I do agree with a number of your choice. I go for the A1 because, I mean, if you think about it, you're getting 20% extra accuracy for 10 more points, and the truck with a 2 HE power mortar on it is pretty funny. On the note of wide dispersion and artillery, I actually think that wide dispersion artillery do have a role in supply heavy decks, and what I mean by that is that people who bring in a lot of supply with that in mind does serve a role for those artillery, because say you have a large town, and if you do the dispersion that covers basically the entire length of the town, the artillery piece will be landing randomly, so the people can't really do building hopping to avoid artillery pieces, because the artillery will basically land anywhere. And I've actually cleared out whole towns with less than accurate artillery pieces that way, and it's pretty satisfying, I think, especially in 10v10s.
I mean, that's an interesting way to use them, although for me I've always just used mortars for that role, really, like the heavy tube mortars. just done a bit better for me. But yeah, I can see why you'd want to do that. And the HE on the B5 is 30, by the way.
30. Okay, so it's 10 less HE power. So it's not quite like the big boom of a B5, but it's still pretty decent.
Well, I mean, the thing about the iHawk is that with that accuracy, like 50% accuracy on any AA vehicle is just kind of bad, mainly due to the fact that a lot of people use planes with 30% ECM and higher. So you're actually hitting for a lot less than 45 or a lot less than 50% accuracy when you're firing those missiles, which can get really irritating.
Yeah, because often you only get a chance to get 2 off, and then so really perhaps you need to bring them in groups, and then you've got the problem of artillery hitting them. But yeah, but it's the same for all this type. Yep, let's move on to the tanks.
All right, my turn. Well, first we're going to start off with the AMX-13 FL-15. This funny little thing, very little armor, but it is small. It does have a 50% accurate gun and a rate of fire of 13 rounds per minute, so it's basically just a gun fire support cheap tank unit that I think you would bring in to support infantry assaults in the town or something. Then, of course, you've got the Centurion Mark 7, 9 front armor. Not the best gun, but it's definitely an interesting cheap tank to bring in if you're trying to soak up a little bit of fire. Then, of course, you've got the Leopard 1 NL and then the Leopard 1V. I feel like the Leopard 1V is pretty good for this role. Has 10 rounds per minute, 65% accuracy, and a pretty decent 8 front armor. So definitely a good light medium tank. I would classify that. Then, of course, you've got to the Leopard 2 series, the Leopard 2A1 NL start off, then the Leopard 2A4 NL, and then the Leopard 2A5 NL with, all the fixings that the Leopard 2A5 comes from in the West German deck. Now, with this, I would like to ask you guys, did anyone, when they saw this, instantly thought about making a West German Netherlands armored deck and having basically 4 Leopard NA 2A5s to send into the battlefield?
Well, you are behind the times, because I was actually speaking to Faust the other day, and for the entire day he was spamming with messages over Steam telling me he'd beaten loads of people with his Dutch-German armored deck. So I feel like some people are quite happy about having those 4 2A5s, although you always have to be a bit careful, because although not as prevalent, because blue general isn't quite as popular now, if you come up against like a Commonwealth deck, you're going to have a bit of a bad time, because these Leopard 2A5s only have 3 top armor, and a Harrier GR7 will 1-pass anything with 3 top armor. So you've got to be careful. Maybe not a hard counter, because the Commonwealth infantry isn't quite as good, but just got to remember, if you're going to do it, you've got to expect those Harriers.
Well, I don't normally do blue 4 versus blue 4, so that shouldn't be a problem for me.
That's true.
Yeah. I think this Leopard 1V is pretty much the same as the Leopard AS1 from Anzac, but the AMX-13 FL-15, that thing could be so useful as like fire support for infantry. Like that 3 HE power on such a cheap tank with 13 rounds per minute is really, really useful.
Well, I just noticed there's some real Illuminati stuff going on. The AMX-13 has 13 AP and a 13 rate of fire. There's something about that number that the French tank just needs to have.
Wow. Right, should we move on to Recon?
Yeah.
Yeah, Recon-wise, we've got the AMX-13 FL-12 and the tank Recon, and the Leopard 1V tank Recon as well. The MX-13, well, I don't think that's got a lot of role in the game. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I really like the Leopard Recon tank. It's got very good optics and decent-ish armor for a Recon tank, because it's got to have a fair amount of speed, so it can't have massive armor, and an okay gun as well, all for 65 points. I'm liking that one. We've got one Recon chopper, which I would probably put in my deck. It's only 45 points, hasn't got any armaments, but it has got very good optics up in the air, can spot pretty much most things. And you will get quite a few of these in your deck, as they're only 45 points. Then we've got the Infantry Recon. I'll talk about the Commando Infantry first, the KCTs. I'd probably take these in the deck. They'll probably do okay against infantry themselves. They're little squads of 5, so they have some kind of durability, and they're very fast across the ground with very good optics. I like those very much indeed, and they come in a variety of trucks and also in a helicopter as well. The other recon infantry are your standard kind of recon infantry, nothing too special, not even a tertiary weapon. But only 15 points, and again you can get those in the chopper if you want to spread them around on the flanks, just to keep an eye on stuff cheaply, and in a couple of different types of vehicle as well, with not the best armaments. Then we move on to the vehicle recon. We've got the large Lard C and V. It's just basically the Jeep recon. It has got exceptional optics for 45 points. No weapons, but what you'll be doing is spotting with this thing, and it's pretty nippy across the ground as well, and it's got a very, very good autonomy, but only a strength of 5, so if it gets hit, it's going to die. Then you've got the YP-104, little recon vehicle, again, pretty nippy. Autonomy is kind of okay, although you'll probably be moving your recon around a lot, so you could be a little bit of a problem. This is a prototype, but nice and fast, and has got a strength of 10, and it's got a little auto cannon that can keep those pesky choppers at bay as well. Then we've got the cheap M113 recon truck, really. This wouldn't be a favourite of mine. Not very good autonomy. Just it is amphibious, I suppose, if you wanted something that was amphibious and it was really cheap. The best thing it's got going for it is it's really, really cheap, and it's only good optics as well. And then we've got the other truck, which is basically an upgrade of the M113, which just spoke about previously. This time, it is only good optics again. Can't really see the massive differences between the two. It's got an auto cannon, I guess, is what you get for your extra. Is the bang that you get for your extra buck there. Then we've got a couple on the bottom, the YP-408 and the YP-408PW. Again, not something I'd go for personally in my decks. We've got the one with an auto. Is that an auto cannon on the first one? I think it's an auto cannon. You can pop helicopters with that, I guess. But again, pretty poor autonomy on that, pretty poor autonomy on the YP-408. I wouldn't probably take them. Personally, I'd go for the recon tank, maybe a chopper, and the KCTs in my deck. What do you reckon, guys?
Well, first off, I should probably point out, apparently those KCTs being 5-man is a bug. It would make them the only elite combat recon squad with 5 men, to my knowledge. So yeah, I think that is getting changed to 10 in the hotfix.
I was thinking about that. They seem to suffer from the early Ranger syndrome of only being 5-man and nobody takes them.
Maybe.
Yeah. It really did kill the squad. I looked at them initially and I was like, oh cool, special forces for Netherlands, that's really awesome. And then I looked at their strength and then I realized they were terrible.
Well, I mean, they're okay, but not great.
The thing is, I just don't think they're worth bringing when you could just bring the other 5-man squad, because you're not really going to be using the KCT for direct engagements anyway.
Unless you're running behind their back line through forest and such, and they could try to defend themselves a little bit, but with 5 strength, they're not really going to last long.
Yeah, the other thing I think is underrated in the recon tab is the AMX-13 again. Same as in the tanks, just the rate of fire and the HE, and also with the good optics this time round, just makes them quite valuable actually.
Yeah,
but that Leopard 1 actually is just awesome. That is probably one of the best recon tanks in the game right now.
It's directly anomalous to the Chinese one, and the reason it's so good is because it's got medium stealth, so it can fire without being seen, and having a tank gun do that is particularly scary.
Just letting you know, the Recon Leopard is the exact same as the Leopard 1V from the tank department. It's just 10 points more with very good optics, which I think is very, very worthwhile. And it actually has 3 more rounds now that I compare them side by side. So that's less of a reason to get it more than this fact you're getting a very good optics tank.
I think it's the stealth, really. There's just one more thing I'd like to touch on, because I really like this. The 25mm M113 Recon. I've had loads and loads of fun with it as a kind of support unit, because you just bring it alongside the same you would kind of a Nanashiki, I suppose, like a tracked Nanashiki from when that was very popular. And the gun is it's pretty good, really. It's quite fast, got good armor. and it's just an all-around really good support unit, I think.
Well, which one?
The M113 CNV 25mm.
Yeah, I was going to say that's definitely better than the actual prototype. The YP104 is autocannon's more accurate and further range. It's actually amphibious, whereas the prototype unit is not. So yeah, that's definitely going to be my pick if I was going to choose a good optics frontline fighting recon. One thing I want to note about a couple of these models is the YP104. Is that me, or is that a Browning machine gun, not an autocannon on the top for the model? What do you guys think?
Let me.
It's like a 20mm machine.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. It's just the
Because it's based
the
on the
HS.
Ferret.
Yeah.
Based
All
on the Ferret.
Well, I think it's not a German gun.
Yeah, probably is.
It kind of looks like a Browning machine gun to me. That's what I was thinking.
But yeah, I think it's based on the Ferret from obviously the UK. So.
And
Should we
also
move on to vehicles?
Yeah.
one thing I just want one last thing is that 55-point exceptional recon. The one thing I really love about the model is the ground radar it has spinning around on the top there.
I guess.
Right, moving on. Vehicles, Vulcan, you've got the pleasure.
So we got the AMX Pratt, which is not the best HGM, 50% accurate, 15 AP power, nothing special there.
Though
you might get it for 408.
Sorry.
With the 60% accurate, 20 AP power. Again, not particularly great, although it is pretty cheap for what it does. But then you got the 60-point 2,625 meter range, 70% accurate, 25 AP power with the TOW2 system. This is sort of your standard HGM vehicle that you can get on a majority of the decks with the TOW2 system. Then you basically got your standard recoilless rifle with the NECAF 106mm. Does have 3 HE power, which could potentially make it useful against infantry. Then we got the Laro Ito, which is just the standard Ito system on a Jeep, of course, same as the French version. And the Laro TOW2, again with the TOW2 system, same as the Pratt, just cheaper because it's not armoured. And that's pretty much the vehicle summed up.
Can I just ask you, not because I want to say Pratt, but you know the YPR 26.5 Pratt, does that fire 2 at a time? Double barrel?
No, it doesn't, unfortunately. Although that would be pretty cool. That would make
be
it incredible.
pretty awesome. Yeah. Okay.
That would be the PSL.
What I think is the AMX Pratt, the 25 points. I feel that's actually pretty decent, cheap for a tow. Kind of take out light APCs and tanks, so that. And it's amphibious too, so I think that might be a little worthwhile. But like you said, it's not the best AP. If it comes up against a heavy tank, it's got to quickly throw in the reverse and get out of there.
I just feel like it's a waste of an availability point.
Yeah, it's a term that I've heard coined a few times is card efficiency.
Right.
So obviously you can only take a certain amount of things in your deck. At the end of the day, I think, you're only going to be taking a few, probably, I think I only have one vehicle in my vehicle tab for my Netherlands deck, and that's the Laro TOW2, because honestly, the rest of them, they're not that amazing. And, I guess you could try and spam them, but the problem with the cheap tow is, if you fire it, it'll hit once, and then by the time it hits, the enemy tank will probably be in range to fire, and it'll just one-shot the Pratt, and it'll do, 1 damage, maybe, with 15 AP.
Okay. Yeah, well, I got the YPR Pratt because it's got armor and a little extra strength to possibly survive. But yeah, I would say just stick with the TOW2 missiles for vehicles.
All right, let's look at helicopters.
Helicopters.
So we've got 4 available that aren't transport. So we've got the Alouette S11, which has the S11 missile system, which is honestly kind of bad, very slow, and the missiles are a bit rubbish.
Kind of bad?
Very bad. We have the Apache, the AH-64TD, with 16 Hellfires. I believe it's exactly the same as the American one. Just check that. Yep. No, actually, it's slightly worse. It doesn't have the rocket pods, although it has double the Hellfire missiles.
It's basically like the longbow without the fire and forget missiles.
Yeah, it's a worse longbow.
And but cheaper.
Yeah, cheaper too. Although I think I'd rather have a longbow. But anyway, so it's again same as any Apache model. 280 kilometers an hour, has one front and side armor. All around quite a good helicopter in my opinion. Has medium optics too. Then we have the BO-105 SNEB, which I've had a bit of fun with this. It's got 24 of these small SNEB rockets, just like the Gazelle Recon the UK have. And for 30 points, it's actually quite effective. Actually, I found kind of spamming a few of them and using them for a bit of fire support. But at the end of the day, why would you take that when you can take the glorious Apache Escort, which has 76 Hydras? And just to give you an idea of how good this thing is, a game I played 2 days ago. You can fire position. This is do you know if you've never done it before. You can fire position rocket pods at enemy helicopters when they stand stationary. I fire positioned 2 Mi-25s and it killed both of them. It's a beautiful helicopter, it really is. For 65 points, I think it's a fantastic kind of, maybe for an opener or just for some kind of infantry sport. Really nice helicopter.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree. The AH-64, I played it a few times in some 10v10s, and it's just a multi-role helicopter. You can stun and stop medium tank pushes with this thing. You can gun down infantry really easily with it. And as you say, if you're skillful enough, like you, Val, you can maybe shoot down helicopters with it.
Making me blush.
Yeah, it's a really awesome aircraft. Really is.
I just want to comment.
30mm cannon's just really good anyway.
Yeah.
I just
tears through APCs as well.
I just want to comment about the fact that I find it interesting that the Netherlands get Apache helicopters, but the British do not in this game.
It hurts me deep inside. It's like a cutting blow. But I don't know. It doesn't really matter too much, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe next Wargame.
The next Wargame. I think we should.
All right, aircraft. So first we'll start off with the F-104G. Basically, really, really cheap anti-air plane, which probably will not go toe-to-toe very well against the high-value planes that are common in these days. Then we've got the F-16A Block 1, which I am kind of looking of using. With 90 points, you get exceptional air detection to see if there's any aircraft in the way, and 6 AIM 9L infrared missiles. I think it definitely has pretty good firepower for 90-point air superiority plane. But then, of course, there's the F-16A MLU, which also has the AMRAAM missiles on top of that. So that's definitely going to be the main air superiority fighter. Then we've got the multi-role F-16s. We've got the Block 5, which has 4 or 500 kilogram bombs. We've got the Block 10, which has the 4 cluster bombs with 8 AP power, to make sure you note that, which is, I think, more than most other cluster bombs munitions. And then you've got the Block 150 CU with its 4 Maverick missiles for direct anti-tank engagements. Then, of course, there's also the funny-looking F-84F with its 8 rockets. They are 4 HE power, so a little more than I thought, but still, with just 8 rockets, it's kind of a little limiting. Then, of course, you've got the cheaper planes, the NF-5A, which has the 6 AP power cluster munition, and then the NF-5B, which is the 5 napalms on the bottom. So those are the planes. What do you guys think?
I think the MLU looks really good because you can get 2 of them hardened. Which makes for a very nice air tab. Although I think, considering me and Vulcan have been casting these games, Eugen is they're messing with us. Because the MLU, the Netherlands MLU, is an air superiority plane. And then the Danish MLU is an anti-tank plane.
I know, I noticed that as the start too.
And it's exactly the same. The only difference is where the dash is in the name, so got to be on point. But I think it's a fantastic plane.
They missed a dash between
really
the F and the 16.
Yeah, and then put it between the 16 and the A.
Yeah, it's so troll. I mean, this is going to catch us out so much going forwards. I think these Dutch units might actually come out quite a lot in like Dutch, West German decks, which would be pretty cool actually.
Yeah,
I'm certainly looking forward to it.
I think the F-16s is definitely the way to go on the air tab. I think the other planes, apart from the F-16s, are a bit crap, to be
They're a
honest.
bit naff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably just take like the F-16A MOU and then the F-16A block 150 CEs.
Because it's got the 2 AMRAAMs as well, so 7,700
Yeah,
meters.
possibly like spammy sort of NF5As, but if I was going to do that, I'd probably just take like the block 5s. So, I mean, it's just the block 5's better than the NF5A for sure.
Yeah, okay, cool.
But that's about it.
Yeah, that's we've covered I think all the units. Although you got to remember everything that you see here, you can also bring with Germany as well. So I think Dutch-German, like we mentioned, I think Dutch-German's going to be a very powerful coalition at the moment, and there's going to see quite a bit of play.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.